fellas. Before we go and talk about what we're going to discuss, unfortunate news surrounding the world of sports. The passing of Greg Gumbel, died at the age of 78. Died of cancer. Reading an article here from ESPN. Greg Gumbel, a veteran of CBS Sports who spent more than 50 years in sports broadcasting, has died of cancer at the age of 78, his family said Friday. Quote, he passed away peacefully, surrounded by much love after a courageous battle with cancer, his wife, Marcy Gumbel, and daughter, Michelle Gumbel, said in a joint statement released by CBS Sports. Greg approached his illness like one would expect he would, with stoicism, grace, and positivity. He leaves behind a legacy of love, inspiration, and dedication to over 50 extraordinary years in the sports broadcast industry, and his iconic voice will never be forgotten. Um, Big news, guys. Champ, I'm gonna let you go first. What were your thoughts?
Man, look, and BRF, I think you can relate to this. When you think about CBS, there's a lot of people who you think about. You think about Walter Cronkite, you think about Dan Rather, you think about Brian Gumbel, and you think about Greg Gumbel, not to mention the late, great Howard Cosell as well. So those are five iconic names that you think about when you think about CBS Network. And look, March Madness, you got to think about Greg Gumbel. When you think about NFL Live, you got to think about Greg Gumbel. And look, not to mention, man, him and his brother Brian Gumbel were pioneers. Not to mention, Greg Gumbel was the first African American in order to commentate the Super Bowl, do play by play on the Super Bowl in 2001. 2001. Think about that. So, I mean, and he was on that network for years, him and his brother Brian Gumbel. So, hey, man, when you think about legends in the game that paved the way so guys like us can have microphones and speak our mind and be as big as we are, man, you got to give that up to Greg and Brian Gumbel, man. And look, man, March Madness is not going to be the same. I mean, college basketball, especially in January when football season falls off and the Super Bowl's over, the college football playoff is over. You think about Greg Gumbel when you think about those things. So, man, look, thank you. Thank you. Hell of a job. Well done. I salute you. And look, thank you for paving the way. Trailblazer and revolutionary gets thrown around like bad lettuce nowadays. Everybody, if you do one thing big, then you know you're considered a trailblazer. Greg Gumbel and Brian Gumbel were really trailblazers, and for him to commentate the Super Bowl and be part, and think about how long he was a part of CBS, him and his brother. You know, I mean, since the Bird and Magic years when they were in college. When Bird and Magic were in college, Brian and Greg Gumbel was on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about how iconic that station was and people who helped them build that, when you talk about Dan Rather, when you talk about Walter Cronkite, when you talk about Howard Cosell, Brian and Greg Gumbel, those five guys, no one contributed as much to CBS as they did. So big ups to Greg Gumbel, man, and thank you for paving the way for guys like myself in order to have a platform. Because if it wasn't for guys like you who had to endure, especially back in those days when you didn't see too many of us on television and sports, if it was for guys like you, we couldn't be here today. So I salute you. Rest in power.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, Champ, you mentioned back in 2001, during the Super Bowl between the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants for CBS, he became the first black announcer in the U.S. to call play-by-play off a major sports championship. And
Mhm.
also, he joined ESPN back in 1981, serving as an anchor for SportsCenter, in addition to contributing to ESPN's early NBA coverage during his time with the network through 1986. Definitely a pioneer, definitely someone big in sports media, well beloved figure. BRF, what's your thoughts, my man?
And how fitting was it that he called, that he got the call that Super Bowl 35 with Baltimore and the New York Giants. I mean, that was just a full on historic moment from being the first African American to do play by play for the Super Bowl, calling the Super Bowl of arguably the greatest defense in the history of the National Football League. We remember those 2000 Ravens and what they did. So the fact that he got to call that game is it was like it's history on top of history. But honestly, the biggest thing for me though is not having him with NCAA basketball anymore, with the NCAA tournament. When I think about the NCAA tournament, there are two commentators that come to mind for me, and that's Jim Nantz doing play-by-play, and that's Greg Gumbel handling the selection Sunday process. I mean, it's not. I mean, and it's not going to be the same without either one of them because I think Jim Nantz retired from calling that as well. So it's not going to be the same not having either one of those voices. So I mean, Greg Gumbel. I mean, like you heard his voice so much, and it's so recognizable. Like like you have voices like Bryant Gumbel, his brother, who's iconic and recognizable. Greg Gumbel's voice is iconic and recognizable. Howard Cosell, Vin Scully. I mean, from where we had Skip Carey, Harry Carey, Jack Buck. I mean, just so many great voices in sports that are iconic, and just like as soon as the first few syllables of words get are spoken, you immediately count the sound flexion, and you immediately know who they are. So it's just it really it hurts from like a standpoint of guys like yourself, PSP, guys like Champ, guys like myself, who's basically it's basically like he paved the way for us in a way to like have a platform to be able to do what we love to do. But there had to be innovators. There had to be a beginning, and there had to be a start to this. And guys like Greg Gumbel really the true start, was one of the real starts to all of this. And definitely want to send prayers and condolences out to his family because I mean, for what is worth, Greg Gumbel is an icon in the world of sports announcing and sports commentating. He is one of the true icons of the game, and he's really gonna be missed because I enjoy like not a lot of times you get these commentators and you enjoy like really hearing them talk. Greg Gumbel's one of the few commentators and announcers I enjoyed hearing talk from the standpoint of he was good at what he did. You could tell he enjoyed what he did, and he wasn't doing this without knowledge of the game. Like he studied the games. You know he was all about the game, and you knew he was going to come into this knowing exactly what the heck he was talking about. So it's like he's just one of those guys that we're gonna miss. But at the same time, we celebrate a guy like him for all the hard work he put in, and the fact that he fought cancer as long as he did. I mean, it's just you salute brothers like him, you salute men like him who put us all into everything. And like I said, prayers and condolences to his family. Greg Gumbel, my good sir, you will be missed, and thank you so much for your contributions to the sports world. And let me tell you, man, it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be hard to replace you come certain events, particularly the NCAA tournament. It's gonna be hard to replace a voice like yours. So, my good sir, like Champ said, rest in power. Salute to you. You will be missed, my good sir. Prayers and condolences go out to his family, man. This loss hits. This loss hits. The world of sports, this loss is gonna hit. So we definitely thank you for everything you did.
Harrison, my man, what are your thoughts?
It's just sad. I mean, you guys all knocked the head on this one. It's just I've been watching this guy for a long time. I've been watching him probably since I was like a toddler. Every single time I've been waiting to hear the selection show almost every single March. It's like it's not even close. But him also announcing football as well. I feel like most of his announcing, I know it's on CBS, but like I feel like he announces most is the Pittsburgh Steelers a lot. I know he did that a lot. But yeah, but you guys knocked the head on this one. There were so many things that we can talk about this guy. But it's unfortunately, we don't know about the cancer. I don't know if it's stage 4, like lymphoma or whatever. I don't know. We all know about it. But yeah, you guys all knocked the head on this one. So prayers up to him and his family.
I mean, when I first heard the news, guys, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, Greg Gumbel passed away. I'm like, nah, this can't be true. But really devastating day. I mean, he was one of the examples of why someone like myself wanted to be involved in sports media. I mean, there are a lot of guys I looked up to. I mean, of course, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Greg and Brian Gumbel, I'm sorry, were perfect examples. I love Brian Gumbel from what he did with HBO's Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. And of course, I love what Greg Gumbel has done with the NFL on CBS and also with March Madness. So it's really devastating. And before we start off with other topics, I think it's appropriate that we leave a moment of silence real quick. Thank you. So again, the news, folks, Greg Gumbel passed away at the age of 78 due to cancer. Hearts and condolences go to his family, his friends. Gone, but not forgotten. Thank you, Greg Gumbel, for everything that you've done for us, for giving people like ourselves a platform, and definitely encouraging people like me, Champ, Harrison, and so many others for opportunities. Thank you.